Okay, good morning everyone, and Chazak, but thank you for joining us on this beautiful Friday morning. Erev Shabbat Kodesh. Perashat Kedoshim is all about holiness, my friends. Holiness, the way we become holy, is by not only how we act with Hashem, but more importantly, maybe how we act with people. And you see right in the beginning of our Perashah, God says, be holy. And then he goes on and he lists all these mitzvot of man to man. These are called Ben Adam Lachavero. How we treat people. Yes, that makes you holy. If you're thinking about on Rosh Hashanah, what could you do this year to give yourself a better chance of life, of health, of money, of shalom, of marriage, of children, whatever you want. Hashem, I want to be holy this year. Yeah, holiness is being nice to people. And you see the Torah goes on and lists all of these commandments. And it's important to stop for a minute and think about that. Sometimes myself, I make this mistake. I'm talking to somebody and I'm rushing because I have to go pray or learn or do something holy. But remember, being kind to this person that you're talking to, not rushing them, that's holy. Mesilat Yesharim, we're learning on Tuesday night, the gentleman's class. And Mesilat Yesharim says that a person who's arrogant, ga'ava, can manifest in many, many ways. One of the ways that arrogance manifests itself is a person who says, I don't have time. I don't have time for you. You are not important enough for me to speak to you. That's what the person's thinking. When you rush someone, that's arrogance. Because you think you're better than them. I don't have time for you, right? And it's important to train ourselves to not rush people. The Gedolim, you should know, the rabbis, the great rabbis, they never rushed. They spoke to you, they gave you all the time in the world. And trust me, they had important things to do. They had Sfarim to write, they had halachot to answer, they had Torah to learn, but they never made you feel like you were wasting their time. And that's something very beautiful, to be able to sit and talk to somebody. And right, sometimes you're at a party, it's your party, and someone's mabruking you, mazal tov. You say thank you so much, and then you move on to the next. Don't rush this person. Let them tell you whatever they want to tell you. Give them full time of day, because otherwise it's a little bit stems from arrogance. And how we deal with people. These are all things that we do to make us holy. This is what our parasha is telling us. Now, with that being said, I want to share with you today a few Ora Hayim Zakadosh. Ora Hayim on our parasha, on all parashiot, are fantastic. And today I want to share with you Ora Hayim, chapter 19. Please turn to 19, Pasuk 23. Okay, so here we go. 19:23, Perek Yud Tet. I'm going to open up my Humash as well. And in order to understand and appreciate the Ora Hayim, we have to first read a few psukim quickly, in order. And again, ask yourself, questions when you're listening, when you're reading these psukim. The rabbis, when they read the psukim, they asked questions. They didn't just read it as a spectator. They read it ready to question. You have to be ready to question. So here we go, chapter 19, Pasuk 26. Let's read. What do we say? 23, sorry. וכי תבואו אל הארץ, ונטעתם כל עץ מאכל, וערלתם עורלתו את פריו. When you come to the land, and you plant a tree, araltem orlato et perio. You shall treat its fruit as orla. What's orla? Anyone know what's orla? Orla is like the foreskin, right? The foreskin covering. So, aralatem orlato. The tree is orla. Shalosh shanim, for 3 years. Yihye lachem arelim lo ye'achel. Wow, I don't know if you knew this halacha. When you enter the land of Israel, when you plant a tree, for 3 years, that tree is off limits. You cannot eat from the fruit. Forget shemitah, forget anything. For 3 years, off limits. That's called orla, the first 3 years of a tree's life. Ubashana harevi'it, and on the 4th year, yihye kol perio. Then all the fruits, kodesh hilulim, are holy to Hashem. So the 4th year, the fruits are holy. What does that mean, the fruits are holy? It means you could eat them, but you have to eat them in Yerushalayim. Okay? Ubashana hamishit. Now again, this is very foreign to us because we don't have these in America, wherever you live, right? Ubashana hamishit. The 5th year, the fruits are yours. Okay, beautiful. So the parasha is telling us over here about the laws of Orla, and then Neta Revi, and there's many pages in Shas dealing with the laws of here. Next pasuk, Lo tochelu al hadam. Do not eat on the blood. Okay? Lo tenahashu. You're not allowed to do any type of nahash. Nahash is like sorcery. Lo te'onenu, different forms of divination. People going to palm readers, going to rabbis that do stuff, with the coffee to see who you're supposed to marry, all that stuff. God says don't do it. Don't go to fortune tellers. You're not allowed to do this stuff, right? Lo takifu pe'at roshechem. You're not allowed to cut your hair around up here lower than a certain number, right? Lo tashchit pa'at, you cannot shave with a blade your beard. Okay? Just again, go on and read these psukim to yourself. Fascinating stuff. The Or HaHayim over here has what to say. And he says that besides for what the Torah is teaching us on a pshat level, on the simple level, we know this. There's deeper. There's pshat, remez, drash, sod. So Or HaHayim today delves into the remez. Torah over here is alluding. It's alluding to something else. Besides for a tree, but what else could a tree represent? I'm sure if you think about it, use your imagination. What else is referred to as a tree? A tree is also a human being. So he says, Ramaz be'omro et ma'achal al bnei Torah. Over here, God is actually alluding to scholars, to me and you, to all of us. When we raise our children, shegam hem nikreu neta'im, they are called saplings. Kemoshe amar Rabbi Yossi, like Rabbi Yossi says, and he quotes, Ki meha'et yemei ami. So a person's children are like a tree. We plant trees, we're planting children. And the Torah is saying, when you enter the land, and it's talking about the land of Israel, of course. It could also be referring to this world. But the Torah's point is, when you enter the world, when you come into the land of Israel, make sure you plant trees. Shehem b'nei Torah, your goal should be to populate the world, to produce children. Now that's not always an obvious thing. Unfortunately today, the trend is not to have children. You think about where the world will be in 30 years from now. When the West has on average 0.3 children, and that Arabs are having 8 children, what's going to be in 30 years? It's frightening to think about the numbers, right? Yasser Arafat said you don't have to kill anybody. Just keep having children. The Arab wife is a biological bomb. That's what he said. Just keep having children, and we're gonna be fine. We're gonna wipe them out that way. That's what he said. So the Torah is saying, make sure when you come into the world, you plant trees, you have children, and make sure shehem b'nei Torah, alluding obviously to Torah scholars. Ki avera shel Eretz Yisrael mahkim. The atmosphere of Israel makes one wise. The Gemara says this. It purifies the soul. It can facilitate the growth of a person's child into becoming a scholar. You find this phenomenon a lot of times. A kid goes to Israel after high school, and all of a sudden he becomes religious, he becomes learned, a scholar. What happens in Israel? Right? One of the answers is the Avira de Eretz Yisrael mahkim. That's a fact. That the atmosphere of Israel makes one wiser. There's a magic in the air that you breathe in Israel. Something special over there. Okay? They have some special stuff in their O2, right? In their oxygen. V'nikra ben Torah etz ma'achal ki mimenu mazon nefesh. And the child is referred to as not just a tree, but a tree that's edible fruits. Why is that? Because the son's learning is a source of nourishment for the father's soul. A very deep idea here. But the Or HaHayim is basically saying that when one has a child that's righteous, you, the parent, you're going to live off of that for eternity. He quotes over here the story of Rabbi Akiva. This is a famous story brought down in the Midrash, in the Gemara, in a few places. That Rabbi Akiva, and this is the source of the Kaddish, by the way. Listen to this fantastic story told. The story is about Rabbi Akiva. He was one time walking, and he saw a fellow that was carrying wood, and the man looked like he was burned. And Rabbi Akiva he's like hurt for the guy. He said, what happened to you? How'd you get like that? Who's hurting you? Who's forcing you to do this? The man told Rabbi Akiva, I am not from this world. I am from the next realm. But because in my lifetime I did certain sins, my punishment is that every day I have to come down to this world chop wood, and bring that wood to the furnace that they punish me in. My Gehenam. That's why I'm burnt. Rabbi Akiva, he felt sorry for the fellow. He said to him, tell me, do you have any children? He says, yes, I have one child. He said, how's he doing? He said, how's he doing? Unfortunately, not doing so well. He's wicked. He's doing bad things, bad addictions, bad behavior. Rabbi Akiva asked for his name. He asked for where he lived. He went and he found the kid, and slowly he taught him Torah. Eventually, the kid, he learned how to read, and Rabbi Akiva told the kid, here, say this prayer, say the Kaddish. He got a minyan of 10 men, and the kid said Kaddish. And that night, the father came to Rabbi Akiva, and he said, Miyom shepatach piv b'divrei Torah, I cannot thank you enough. You don't understand what you've done for me. With that one Kaddish that my son said, I am forever indebted to you. They've lightened my load, the punishment, by 1,000% because of what you've done for me. So the power of a child saying Kaddish, the power of a child doing anything, is fruits that's going to feed the parents. Our children, that's our future. That's our legacy. And therefore, the Torah says, make sure when you come to the land, you plant trees, meaning you have children. Not just children that are righteous, that you teach them good values, good ethics, mitzvot, Torah, ma'asim tovim. Ve'amar shalosh shanim yeh lachem arelim. Torah, however, says for the first 3 years, that tree is going to be arel. What does that mean? Atum. That means he's going to be sealed. Okay? That means that the kid is going to be blocked for 3 years. Shelo yetzeh mehem tiftuv Torah. For the first 3 years, no Torah comes from that kid. He's 3. What can he do already? He doesn't know much. He can't say much. Right? He's limited. So for 3 years, nothing really good is going to come out of this kid. Okay, he's a baby. What do you want from him? Right? For 3 years, the child cannot speak. By the way, I'm not sure if you have this custom. Maybe you heard of this custom of the halakeh, right? The Upsherin. For 3 years, you don't cut the kid's hair. Where do you think that came from? That came from right here. For 3 years, Torah says, the tree, you don't touch the tree, right? The baby, this child, for 3 years, don't cut his hair. That's where the custom comes from. Ubashana revi'it, and in the 4th year, hitchil ledaber, once the kid starts to talk. So the pasuk says, kodesh hilulim. Make sure you start teaching him holy things. Teach him how to praise. Teach him how to say Torah. The first words a kid should say when he's learning how to talk is not goo goo gaga. Is not the wheels on the bus go round and round. Right? The first words you should teach a kid is Torah tzivalanu Moshe. Teach him how to say brachot. From the little age already. Modeh ani. Right? The same way you could teach them nursery rhymes, you could teach them Torah rhymes. Bezeh yikra kodesh hilulim. This is what it means when it says that he should be sanctified to Lord Hashem. For although a child is in his 4th year, is not actually able to study, he can still be trained to produce sanctified fruit by reciting the holy verses of Hashem's praise. So that's in the 4th year when the kid's 4 years old. Ubashana hamishit, and in the 5th year, then you will benefit from its fruit. Of course, it's referring to the Mishnah in Masechet Avot that says Ben Hamesh Shanim Lemikra, that once a kid is 5 already, he can start learning how to read. And this is the custom, by the way, that at 4 years old, when they cut the kid's hair after 3 years, they show him Aleph Bet, they show him letters, they teach him how to write. They put honey on the letters, different customs that they do at this Upsherin ceremony at the halakeh. But it's all sourced right here in the Orah Haim. It's right here in this pasuk. And then it says, Lo tochelu al adam. The next pasuk says, and make sure, do not eat over the blood. Ramaz hakatuv alluding over here. Shelo yesid buko b'ma'achal asibat adam. Shehu geshem adam utchunato. That a person should not do what they do in life for physical things. Illa, right? Don't do it for blood, for the physical. Illa letachlit hamuskal. Do it for the intellectual. Do it for the spiritual. And that's now, by the way, again, alluding, when it says don't do divination, lo tenahashu, but nahash literally means snake. He says over here, very clever. It says the Orah Hayim, that if you do things for the physical, you're feeding the snake. Nahashu, nahash. Why? Because the physical body, after 120, what happens? The body goes into the ground, it becomes one with the earth, and that's what the snake's going to eat. Remember, God promised the snake that he eats from dirt. So don't worry too much about the physical. Then you're going to be feeding the snake. Lote nahashu. Don't worry about that. Velote onenu. And as well, the word lote onenu, which again, on a simple level means don't believe in lucky times. But over here, the Or HaHaim explains that it could be expounded in line with what the verse says in Iyov. As a cloud disperses, anan. So the word lote onenu, one's purpose in eating should not be to gratify and nourish the part of him that will ultimately decompose in the grave and disappear like a cloud. So the pasuk is over here going on and saying how a person in life, should focus on their children and on their children spiritually. Children spiritually. Okay? Next pasuk, and look at this, very beautiful. Lo tochelu al hadam. Do not eat over the blood. And this is the source, by the way, this pasuk, that one should not eat in the morning before praying. First thing you do in the morning should pray, and then eat. But first you got to ask God for life. First pray for your blood. And then after you have blood, after you pray for your life, then you could eat. Lo techilu al adam. But look at this. What does this have to do with the mitzvah of orla that we just spoke about? Of the 3 years of the tree. L'rmoz ma she'amru. This is alluding. Ki adam harishon hata ba'achilat etz hadat. And I hope what we're about to read will hopefully ring a bell of something that we read just last week of the Or HaHaim, or maybe 2 weeks ago it was. And look at this. Let's read it together and open it up. I think it was a few weeks ago. Ki adam harishon, Adam hata ba'achilat etz hadat. Remember Adam when he ate from the tree? What exactly was that? Adam ate kodem zman hetero. He ate before the time that it became permissible. We don't always realize that. The Sfarim write that if Adam would have just waited a few hours, then the tree would have been permitted. And he would have been able to eat the tree permissibly. You know, a lot of times in life, the things that are not allowed, they're just not allowed yet. They will be allowed soon. If we could just have some patience, you know, just on a simple level, you know, meat and dairy. You cannot have dairy, but just wait a few hours, you'll have dairy. So the etz hadat, the Torah, the rabbis explained that it wasn't allowed so long that it was still Friday. Adam HaRishon was created on Friday, and in the 9th hour he violated the commandment of not eating from the tree. It was 9 hours into the day. Let's say it was 3 p.m. 3 p.m. on Friday. If he would have just waited till sunset, he would have just waited till 6, 3 more hours, he would have been allowed to have it. So now you understand the juxtaposition between this pasuk and the previous pasuk. The same way we just told you about orla. What's orla? Orla is a tree, and you could have it, but not yet. You gotta wait. You could have it in 3 years. So to Adam HaRishon, you could have from the tree in 3 hours. Gorgeous. And that's what it has to do with orla. She'im hayamamtin ad leil Shabbat Kodesh. If he would have just waited till Friday night, hayam mekadesh, he would have been able to have from that tree. And not only would he have had from that tree, the kiddush that he would have made would have been made from grapes of that tree. According to one opinion, the tree was grapes. There's 4 opinions. According to one of them, it was a grape tree. It was a vine. And if he would have just waited, then he would have taken those grapes and squeezed them, and he would have made kiddush on wine made from etz hadat. But he was impatient. He needed it now. And it became forbidden, and he was punished. Unbelievable. Vezehu sod divrehim. And that's what it means. And now he's going to go deep over here, so just hold on. Vezehu sod divrehim. This is the inner meaning of the sages of blessed memory. When they say, She'adam moshech be'orlato haya, that Adam drew his orla. Zohi orlato. For this eating of the fruit before it became permitted to him is his orla which he drew upon himself. Meaning that by eating from the fruit that had the status of orla, because Adam ate from this tree before it was permissible, so it's like orla tree. So he now drew upon himself a spiritual orla. And Orah Hayim is going to elaborate in a minute, and we spoke about this in the past, that originally Adam was pure, Adam was holy, Adam didn't have foreskin on the Brit Milah. Originally, the wife Chava, she also didn't have to go through a monthly cycle of death, of bleeding. The land originally was pure. The land produced fresh bread. But because of the sin, Adam messed up everything. And now his Brit Milah is covered. And now the lady, she has to go through her cycle every month. And now the bread is covered. The bread has the husk. The bread has the chaff. The wheat is not bread anymore. Now it's wheat that you have to take and grind and knead into dough and then make bread. So because of Adam's sin of eating from Orlah, he caused Orlah to come and cover everything in the world. Originally even, again, we're going Kabbalah today. This is Orah Hayim, what can we do? Adam was originally light, Or, with an Aleph. But because of his sin, he covered himself with an Or of an Ayin, with leather, with skin. Originally, again, I don't know what this means, if it's literal, I don't know what that means. But according to the Kabbalists, Adam was light. But after the sin, he became leather, flesh, skin. That's why we look at the candles on Saturday night. We look when we see Borei Meorei Ha'esh, we try to look at the reflection of the fire through our nails. We remind ourselves that once upon a time, we were in skin. We were nails, we were light, we were ish. Right? And that would have been if Adam just waited a little bit. And now our job, nothing we could do about it, our job now is to fix it. Our job now is to fix it. And that's what we're doing. We're here to do a tikkun. So that's what the pasuk is saying, Va'araltem orlato. The Torah says, do not eat over the blood. And it's connected. This pasuk, don't eat over the blood. Right after the pasuk of eating a tree for the first 3 years, that's forbidden. Perush me peri orla. You shall not eat from the above mentioned orla fruit. Al hadam, over, meaning because of the blood. Meaning, al sibat hadam, for that is the cause of blood. The reason we people die today, for the sin of eating orla fruit is the cause of all bloodshed. Since by eating from the tree of knowledge had the status of orla, Adam brought death upon the world, thereby causing the blood of Adam himself and all his descendants to be shed, as it were. So the Orah Hayim is saying that's the connection. If you eat orla, because of Adam eating the first 3 years, the tree in the first 3 hours before it became permissible, so that's the cause of blood. Lo tochelu al Adam. If he would have not eaten, there wouldn't have to be bloodshed. There wouldn't have to be the status that it is today. And then he ends by summarizing everything that we just said. Look what he writes. And you should know that the source of all orlas is because of Adam eating from the tree. Shezulat hit Adam. If not for Adam's sin, lo hayta orla ba'olam, there would not be a concept of orla existing in the world. The idea of there being a peel, something covering the fruit, covering the righteousness, covering the holy. There would be automatic holiness. We wouldn't have to uncover. Now our job is to uncover. So when the baby's born, you have to remove the foreskin. When you want to make bread, you have to remove all the external things and then make it into bread. When you want to do a mitzvah, there's things in the way. That's part of the tikkun. But if not for the original sin, the world wouldn't have orla. Lo shel tzomeach velo shel ba'alei chayim. Neither the fruit or living beings. Adam's sin brought a spiritual orla into the world, which resulted in both the orla status of the fruit that grows in the first 3 years of the tree and the orla present in uncircumcised males. And therefore, it goes beautiful with what the Orah Hayim again taught us just a couple of weeks ago about the mitzvah that we read in Perashat Tazriah of the Brit Milah. And if you go back to that class, you could connect it beautifully to today's class of man's job. Man's job in this world is to perfect by whether it's the Brit Milah physically, whether it's the mitzvot that we do. That's what challah is, the mitzvah of challah. When a lady's making Friday challah for Shabbat, or anytime she's making bread, right? So taking off a piece, all of these things are tikkun. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff today from the Orah Hayim. We will stop over here, my friends, wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom Vorach, and see you all next week. Bye-bye.